Did you know you can actually customize your own GPT? So, like I said before, yes, you can have use a regular GPT, such as Keymate, which is used for researching, and that one has the background on how to research, how to access databases, how to synthesize information. It has all of those custom instructions, and you can actually do that for yourself, for your own business. You could even do it for your own personal uses. So, for example, if your business sells HVACs, you can tell it all about what your business does, how it started, um, what your value proposition is, what your services are, what their cost is, what your messaging is. You can give it all kinds of information, and it really will save you a ton of time. So, in this part of the presentation, I'm going to explain how you can customize your own GPT to save you time. So here's a quick overview of kind of how it works. So like I said before, it's the same language model. You're just adding some extra background context and instructions. So for example, for our custom GPT, we do marketing, and we do marketing particularly for um, businesses that are based in Europe and want to enter the United States, and they need some marketing help in order to enter the US market because they might not have the expertise, right? And so my prompt to my custom GPT would be, here's a list of prospects. Which one of them fits into my ICP? For those that do fit my ICP, please write a message that hints at their pain points and offer some services that will best fit them based on their industry and their title, right? So maybe I attach a list of prospects. My custom GPT has my ICP, it has my ideal customer profile, and it can match that list of prospects to my ideal customer profile and tell me which ones match and which ones don't, right? So for example, the response would be, it picks out the name John Legend and says, John Legend, the head of sales for Manufacturing Co. Here's the message. Hey, John, reaching out to see if you've been struggling with a marketing team in the US. So that's a very simplified overview, but it's essentially just using background information that you gave it without you needing to repeat yourself over and over and continue to give the background, right? So that's why we make a custom GPT. It's because it plays a role that no other GPT can play. It is your personal advisor. And in this case, I made one for marketing because that's what we do, but it could be your personal advisor for sales or business development or for almost whatever you'd like, I would say. So what can it do? It can do content. So this is mostly what we use it for. So for example, you can share a news story and ask it to connect your value proposition to that news story. You can give it a blog post that you're working on and ask it to personalize it to your business, to your services, to your ICP. You can also use it for business development. We don't really use it as much for this, and I'm not going to cover it as much in this presentation, but it's definitely a big use for the custom GPT. So for example, you can share a company's website and ask it what's the best way that your business or your services could be tailored to that company or how it could best help that company. Same thing if you have a LinkedIn URL for a prospect, you share the URL and you say, hey, read through what this person does, what they specialize in, and please tell me what services I could offer them to best help with XYZ business, right? So there's a ton of use cases, not just these. Today, we're primarily going to focus on content. So how do you build a custom GPT? So you're going to go to your dashboard, and on this left side column, you're going to see Explore GPTs. And you're going to click on that, and it's going to pop out into this little section, what's called the GPT Store. And on the top right, you're going to see Create. You're going to click that button, and it's going to take you to this configuration page. So here, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail because there's a lot of other things I want to cover, but there's there's going to be a AI cheat sheet that I'm going to send out. Well, I'm not going to send out. Jen is going to send it out at the end. It's about 7 pages, and it has all of the information that you need to fill this section out with your business needs. And it's pretty detailed, and it should be able to give you almost everything that you need. If it doesn't, I can always explain it further, but it has essentially everything you're going to need to fill this out, regardless of whether you're using it for marketing or sales or what have you, right? But briefly, I'll just go through description. You just add a quick description of what the GPT does. This is mostly for other people so that if someone clicks on your GPT, they can see, what is this for? Why would I use this, right? Instructions. This is something that can be pretty much standardized. In the cheat sheet I'm going to send later, the instructions that I use are in there. You can just copy paste those directly in there. You can always add more, but there is a standardized couple of instructions that I always use in every custom GPT I made, and I added those in the cheat sheet, so you can just copy paste straight from there. Then conversation starters, I don't really use this much, but if you'd like to, you can. You just essentially type up a quick query or question that you feel you believe you will ask often, and then that way it kind of creates a button. So the next time you get into your custom GPT, that button is there, and you can just click it instead of typing out the question every time. So it's a bit of a time saver. I don't personally use it because there's nothing that is that standardized for me query-wise. And then knowledge files. This is like the most important part of all of this. This is where you're giving it all of the context and background information that it needs in order to give you the best results. And the knowledge files, I'm going to go more into it in the next slide. Okay. And then capabilities. Capabilities. I personally leave on all three of them because I use all three of them, but if you don't leave them on because there is reasons not to leave them on. For example, web search, if you want your custom GPT to only base its suggestions or recommendations or results on the knowledge that you gave it, you shouldn't leave web search on, because if there's anything at all that it doesn't instantly find in your knowledge, it's going to go to the web. And chances are it might be incorrect information. God knows not everything on the internet is true. So if it goes to the web, there are chances that it's going to give you wrong information. And especially depending on what kind of business you are, you really don't want that, right? Especially if you're allowing someone else to use your custom GPT. You don't want it to give misinformation to a prospect or a client, right? So if you don't think you will be using web search or you don't want it to search the web, definitely leave it off. DALL-E and Code Interpreter, I would say if you don't use them, leave them off because they can actually take up some processing energy from the GPT. So you ask it to do something and it's actually going to be slower or not as good because you have these capabilities on, and it's taking up some of that processing power. So if you're not going to use them, leave them off. If you are going to use them, definitely leave them on. And this is honestly something you can change this later. So if you have them on and then you're like, oh crap, like I actually want to take them off, you just go back in, you edit GPT, and you can turn them off again. It's completely up to you. You can change it as you need. Okay. So here's some quick examples of knowledge. So like I said before, here where you upload files, here's some examples of the files that you would upload. So for example, brand positioning, for example, your brand promise, your brand purpose, what your differentiators are, your points of parity. So points of parity is essentially what you have in common with your competitors, versus differentiators would be how you are different from your competitors and what you do better. Examples of competitors, a writing style for different channels versus blog versus LinkedIn versus Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media channels you use. You can give it different writing styles, email too. Then a value proposition, like this is what we do, this is who we are, this is how we solve our customers' problem, our market positioning, your business goals, your tactics and strategies that you typically use for marketing, your ideal customer profile, like I said earlier. All of these can be added. You can even add them all in one file. So that's something to keep in mind. There is a limit on the number of files you can add into your knowledge. As of right now, it's 20, and each of those can have a max size of 512 megabytes, which is about like a Word document that has like 9,600 pages. So the limit is very, very high for each of those files. but there is a limit. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're uploading a book, for example, and it's a really big book, it might be outside of the limit. So just something to keep in mind as you work through this and you build your GPT, okay? And something to mention quickly, if you don't have brand positioning, I highly suggest that you get it figured out and structured so that way you can upload it to the GPT because that's going to be really, really helpful for you. It's going to have background on who you are, what your promise is, what your purpose is, and that's going to be helpful in creating better content for your company. And my company, Beyond Borders, does offer a workshop. If you would like help with that, just scan the QR code. We have a great brand positioning workshop that really helps small businesses. So on to the next. So that's essentially my brief introduction to ChatGPT and the GPT store. So next we're going to move on to what the methodology is for content success using ChatGPT.